Here we are, pal.
In
No
a
idea
nice,
how mine's
in a nice.
Oh, I didn't. We're gonna have no intro video or outro
Why is that?
because I didn't
What?
load
Why?
them.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it while we're streaming live to people.
Sure.
Hello, people.
Are we live? I don't see you, by the way.
You don't. Oh,
no.
you know.
Sorry, I just noticed because I was working on that thing. No.
I'm gonna go with you. Probably still can't see me unless I call you back.
Yeah. Is that not possible?
Well, I can. Hold on. Let me just call you back. All right, we're live. I think your camera's better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Mm-hmm.
The magic of Teams, if I change the camera while we're on a call, it does not work. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. That's looking good, that's looking good. Alright, let's hopefully I don't smack the camera with my head here. Oh, we are.
What's the matter?
Can you see the size difference between us?
Oh, yeah. He was a monster.
Let me see if I can.
Also, why am I'm off to the side?
Well, it's because you're from the side.
Why am I sidelined? Just curious. Yep. I would like the tech industry to take the rest of the day off so I can just kind of enjoy the afternoon. Is that too much to ask? Citrix and
you.
Chrome Enterprise. Yes. I could do. Could I help matters by? I'll just move. This is as far as I can go because of the microphone. I could just step back.
I think you walked the wrong way.
Well, I can't really go over here. The mic doesn't reach. Why, that's a mighty big Surface Book you've got there, Brad. Or are you just happy to see me?
Yeah. Well, now you're like too low. Damn it.
So is there no way to adjust it so that it's like centered on me? Or do you have to keep going to the other computer to do
I
this?
can do it. Hold on.
Usually I'm a little closer, but... I feel like I'm in that Superman Phantom Zone. Is that the right term? The thing that the villains went into in Superman 2? No, the Phantom Zone? I think it's the Phantom Zone. Phantom Zone. Why doesn't that sound right? The Phantom Zone. Yeah, the Phantom Zone.
I don't know. I think that's good enough.
Fine. Now I'm just going to scrunch down, so I'm down at like
people in the outside world. Does the audio sound maybe, hopefully, okay?
Paul's on the wrong mic.
No, you're not. You're actually.
I know. I didn't touch any of the settings, so I'm kind of amazed nothing changed.
I'm waiting for the chat room to respond. Gardner Van Holt says the audio is fine, so if anything is wrong, you can find his self-addressed
Gardner's email address is.
All right. Well, we're just gonna. I'm gonna. There is no intro video, as I noted, so I'm gonna make it up.
Okay. Oh boy! Yeah, when you said you were going to make it up, I didn't realize it was going to be to that level of professionalism.
It really is. Welcome back, everybody, to First Ring Daily, where I have completely changed everything. And for the people who sat around for the first 15 minutes of the show while I basically made Paul and I roughly the same height, although there's still some little issues. I mean, but here we are. We got camera switching. We got everything else. We just don't have intro and outro videos, but that will be that'll be happening next week. So, Paul, welcome back to the studio here. Whoops! Look at this. Look.
Yep.
We are.
Brad, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you look at the hero shot I used for the second part of my Galaxy S9 Plus review, you will see a picture of some flowers. And they're on a table that should look vaguely familiar to you.
I am going to, because why not do it live? Let me whip up the website.
While he does that, I'll explain. When we redid the kitchen a few months ago, we extended the counter so we could accommodate some stools. But that made it hard to put a kitchen table in there because there isn't really enough space to walk by and so forth. And so my wife said, you know what we need is like a table that's like half the width of a normal table. And then she said, how about that table down in the cellar that no one's using? I'm like, well, the plan is to use that table, but if you want to put it there for now, I just want you to understand that A, it weighs 500 pounds, and B, it's going to be temporary. So when Mark was home over whatever weekend a few weeks back, him and I laboriously, like using the same technologies the Egyptians used to create the pyramids, got that thing up the stairs and put it in the kitchen.
It looks good, Paul. That was
it almost looks like it belongs.
Yeah, it's a real nice desk. Maybe you could use it one day for a.
Actually, what I should do is I could just put the camera in there and I'll just do the podcast from the kitchen.
But you have to change the flowers each week. That's
yeah, of course.
Apparently, according to the chat room, there's breaking news here, Paul. There is Windows insiders have released build 17134 to the slow ring.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yep.
Good. I can write about that after we're done. That's good. Okay, that's a good sign because there were rumors of further delays. When did the new build hit the fast ring? Was that Monday or Tuesday? Monday, probably.
I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that took longer than it did last time when we were on 133. Remember, the turnaround time from fast to slow was 2 days, but this is probably a more regular schedule. I think they want to make sure it's right, and I think it going to the slow ring after what happened last time suggests that they feel pretty good about this build.
Yep. Next step would be release preview. So.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Yep. Getting back to the actual show notes here, Paul. Actually, I didn't even see this. So Google calls out Microsoft on a Windows 10 S flaw.
Yeah, you have to really read this thing close to see they mean Windows 10 S. It actually does say 10S, but they don't put an S, a space between the 10 and the S, in the way that they write it because they're Google and they don't care about Microsoft. But Google's policy is they discover a security vulnerability, they give the maker of the platform 90 days to fix it. They warned Microsoft ahead of the April Patch Tuesday, the schedule is expired. Are you going to fix it? And Microsoft didn't. So they revealed the flaw. And it is in Windows 10 machines that have a feature called Device Guard enabled, meaning basically Windows 10s, which has that feature enabled by default. I guess my side commentary to this is simply that, well, two things. One, Google, you're dicks. And two, Windows 10s is sold on this security promise. But as I've kind of pointed out in the past, all of the promises of Windows 10s are theoretical, right? That the performance stays the same over time, that the battery life is better, that the security of the system is stronger. Those things are all kind of really easy to say, but I don't know that there's any proof of any of that, to be frank. But you got to remember that Windows 10s is just a mode on top of Windows 10 Pro in this case, and the whole Win32 thing is still there in the system. It's still working. So I don't know. And as I pointed out in my article, back in probably February, as I use a Windows 10s system, it's right next to me. You can't see it, but it's over here, and I got a virus on Windows 10s.
Oh.
And I use that computer fairly regularly in the sense that I use it for the book and I take screenshots and everything. But I don't use that computer as a computer. Like, I don't sit there and browse the web on it and do stuff like I do on this computer, which is a real Windows 10 computer. And it got a virus. So, I'm using some anecdotal information here, but this is not a positive development in my opinion.
Interesting. Speaking of Google, by the way, so Google very weirdly announced a thing called Chat yesterday. Oops, I have these buttons backwards and it's really screwing me up. They released Google Chat and they only told The Verge about it for whatever reason they felt that was appropriate.
Sure.
But anyway, so it's a thing called Google Chat. It is not a new chat application. It is taking their old Android SMS app and they're adding new features to it. Most notably, they're adding it uses universal profile for rich communication services, which is, think of it as a next-gen SMS. And so basically what they've done is they've gone to all the carriers, and all the carriers are like, yeah, we'll support that. And Google's like, great, we'll build it into the Android messaging app. And it's very similar to iMessage, meaning that you can send GIFs and videos and all that stuff. And it's just kind of a rich text SMS. If one person on the communication tree does not support it, it falls back to SMS, just like iMessage. It'll automatically be turned on inside of Android Message as long as everything is supported. But there's a couple downsides here. One, it's not encrypted end-to-end, which to me is almost a deal breaker from day one for a lot of people. That here's a new service, it's in bed with the carriers, it's not encrypted. And the other thing, Paul, I think is going to be a deal breaker here. Paul, refresh my memory here. Are carriers known for caring about consumers?
No, they're not known for that.
Yeah, I'm very much expecting. This would not surprise me at all to see Verizon announce a new, more everything chat communication plan for an additional $2.99 to $4.99 a month to be able to support the service, which is probably why the carriers are like, oh, we can upcharge for this.
Yep. If I referred to Google as being a dick. The carriers are way worse than Google in that regard, for sure. The Verge did a pretty good job of breaking down the 2,000 messaging solutions that Google has created over the past 5 or 6 years. A couple of years ago when they introduced Allo and Vera, as I call it, or Allo and Duo, I was like, first of all, no one needed another messaging app, idiots. And then you released 2. And then since then, they've completely changed the direction of Hangouts. They've added Hangouts Meet, I think it's called, which is like a video conferencing thing for Hangouts. And it's like, guys, just get your act together. So for what it's worth, I like the Android Messages app, messaging or whatever it's called. It's what I use on my Google Pixel, and adding features to it to make it more modern or whatever is fine with me. That's fine. I'm not going to be sending too many animated GIFs and emojis for sure. I like it coming from the platform maker. And I, like so many other people, believe that Google has needed an iMessage competitor for forever.
Yeah.
So I guess this is sort of there. I don't know.
Yeah, this is to me. This is a kind of a half-assed approach.
Well,
Supposedly,
yeah.
the reason why they went to the carriers and didn't just do their own thing is that they don't want to include a forced service inside of Android because it kind of breaks what Android is. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's like Google. This is what literally everybody wants you to do. The only people who might be upset are the carriers, potentially. But let's just be honest here, Paul. If the carriers are upset, what are they going to switch their entire lineup to? What other OS do they have?
Right. Yeah. This is very reminiscent of the way Microsoft used to solve problems back in the day, by which I mean poorly over great periods of time and then with great compromise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's So that's Google Chat. Look for your updated carrier billing options here probably sometime around I/O. Or actually, it's probably shipping with Android. What, P? Is that the next one that's coming out?
Yeah, not till the fall. So, but they'll probably talk more about this at Google I/O. I was kind of curious that they handed this off to a publication rather than just doing it themselves, but sure.
And here we are. Speaking of things that are no longer happening or whatever you want to call, Tim Cook apparently shoots down Convergence rumors, which... it's a little odd, but...
yeah, so I've been kind of thinking this one over. If you go back and read what he said, he doesn't directly shoot down the actual rumor, right? In other words, what he was saying is we don't think that converging these devices makes sense, that a combination of an iPad and a MacBook is not what our customers are asking for. Yeah, I don't know what his customers are asking for. I think the 2-in-1 market has kind of spoken for itself, and that bringing iPad-like features to the MacBook makes tons of sense. Like actually converging the MacBook and the iPad may not make sense, right? But the ability to run iPad apps on a MacBook, even without touch features, I actually think that makes tons of sense. And he doesn't necessarily say that they're not doing that, right? Gotcha. So this could be a very Steve Jobs-like way of hiding what it is they're really doing by kind of talking around it. So my initial reaction to this was slightly negative. I don't know if you read my little commentary on this, but he may be just, I don't, kind of speaking around it. The more I think about it, the more it seems like that to me. And I don't look.
Sure.
No offense to Tim Cook, I'm sure he's a great guy, but he's not exactly a product visionary or, a product guru or design guy or whatever. And I am sure he's in touch with what his customers want. I mean, his company is slightly successful. I get it, but
a little bit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're doing everything right for their customers, right? I mean, and I feel like the majority of people who have an opinion about this topic would agree that adding touch capabilities to the Mac wouldn't hurt anything and would help a lot. And I've made the case in the past that even if you just look at it from a developer perspective, people who are creating iOS apps on that platform, it would benefit those people. It would make app development easier, just so you could test the apps without having a device attached. I mean, it's just I just don't understand the reluctance to do something is so obviously not a problem, but there we are.
Yep. No, actually what was running through my mind is obviously there's been a lot of leaks around Apple, right? There's been a lot of stuff about their new subscription service, what's coming and all that good stuff. And I think you might be right that he found a very narrow line to walk that makes it sound like he's refuting some of those rumors to kind of like push back and be like, maybe not everything that's leaking is true. But he's weaseling his way in between the words to find an alignment to make it seem like that, maybe those leaks aren't quite what they seem to be.
You could probably find the data from IDC rather, or Gartner, where they might break down PC sales by percentages of device types. And I bet what you would find is that 2-in-1 PCs overall, just 2-in-1 PCs, right, outsell MacBooks by some huge margin.
Sure.
There's a market for these things, and there is absolutely a market for this type of device from Apple specifically. And if you look at all, as far as like, he had said some terrible things about, like you can converge like a a microwave and a refrigerator or a toaster and whatever the phrase was. And it was just kind of like to belittle the 2-in-1 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But look at the crazy crap that they've done to the MacBook. You know, they've created a keyboard that can't be repaired, that could be brought down by a crumb. They've added a trackpad that's the size of Rhode Island. They've added a silly-looking cartoonish touch strip to a professional, expensive laptop and not given power users a way to opt out of it. And you know, and somehow the genius behind all those decisions knows that his customers don't want touch on the screen or the ability to run iPad apps, maybe. That's ridiculous.
I will throw one other thing because I enjoy piling on Apple when given the opportunity. There's another very popular YouTube channel out there called Linus Tech Tips, and they bought an iMac Pro, and they broke the screen. They broke it, and they can't get it repaired because they can't get the parts shipped.
Well, at least the computer wasn't expensive. Did they break it on purpose? I mean, did they do something?
They were doing a teardown video, and when they were, I think, putting the screen back on, the guy dropped the screen, and there's a cracks along the bottom, and so they're just trying to get a replacement display, and
that's amazing.
They can't do it, and so.
Yep. Wow. How much does an iMac Pro cost? It's got to be like $5,000.
Yeah, I think they found a way to best the Surface Studio with that machine.
Yeah, well, at least it supports pen and touch. No?
Yep. Yes. Anyways, folks, well, it is Friday here, and one of the things that we do on Friday is take a look back at some of the comments and read them better, worse, or indifferent. And this one actually comes from the forums. It comes from B. Harris. He says, 1803 is a disaster, and he lists out all the problems he's had trying to run it. And I'll be very curious to see if this new build fixes any of that and what build he was actually running. But I think, Paul, you've had quite a few issues with this latest iteration.
Yeah, which is why I think today's news about it hitting the slow ring is good news, because I was a little bit worried about this. The recap on this is that when 17133 was the RTM build, I had experienced 2 blue screens, both of them on the PC reset function. So it's probably fair to say in both cases what I had done was use the magic window trick to upgrade to what was then the RTM build. Got out of the Insider program, and then went and said, I'm going to just blow this install away. I'll just reset it back to factory, but it will do it to the new RTM version. That'll be good. And in both cases, it blue screened on the reset, which I'd never seen before that point. And in one case, I had to go back to my Windows 10 USB key that has the previous version on it just to get the thing up and running. The other one actually worked the second time. So when they iterated to 17134, I thought, okay, that must have been the problem. And I had to go redo the magic window trick on all my PCs. And on one of them, I got I guess it was a green screen in this case because it was on the beta or whatever, but upgrading to 17134, and it was like, like what's going on here? But I don't know. This is not a lot of evidence. I mean, even though I have installed this on probably 8 or 9 computers now, there are so many different configurations. It's not clear that just because I happen to have this, handful of problems across these PCs, I don't know that means anything, but it is notable. I don't think I've ever seen this level of failure on a final build of a version of Windows 10 before.
Yeah, there's definitely some trickery going on that's been a little dicey for some people. That is for absolute. Actually, I was trying to say one thing and thinking another. Is like, maybe this is the one day, the one time you don't jump right on that brand new build the day it comes out, because once it hits general population,
the last 2 had been so reliable.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's how they get you. I don't know what else to say. I mean,
and the next comment comes. This is relating to the Apple Convergence. It comes from Bob Schutz. He writes, "Am I the only one who welcomes this? I was dreading watered down iOS apps on the Mac."
Watered down iOS apps. Wow. The point of all of these mobile platforms coming to desktop platforms is to make up for an app gap, right? And I think for the most part, it's an app volume gap, not necessarily an app quality gap, right? Because there are high quality apps on the Mac, but the Mac App Store has not taken off to the degree that the iOS version has, and not even close. And more to the point, just as platforms go, I mean, iOS is so much bigger than the Mac is. And there are so many more apps there, like billions of apps, literally. And some of them, the ones that are made for the iPad specifically, have gotten professional enough over time, both because developers are just hammering away at the platform, but also because Apple has been improving the platform capabilities, that it really is not a stretch to look at some of the better apps and say, you know, this would be perfectly at home on a Mac, you know? That's something we don't see on the Windows side. Most of the apps that you see in the Microsoft App Store that are not desktop apps, that are, you know, wrapped in the desktop bridge, are kind of cartoonish looking, right? They're kind of childish, you know, big buttons and touch first and all that kind of stuff. But I think the closest parallel here is the Android coming to Chrome OS thing, because you see the same situation over there. It isn't as good as it is on iOS, but Android tablet apps that can be good, like the Microsoft Office apps, look, you know, right at home on a Chromebook. So I still think this makes sense. And like I said earlier, I still wonder if he wasn't just being cagey. You know, so they will or will not announce something at WWDC this year. I don't know, but I think Apple has the best chance to bring a mobile app platform to their desktop platform and have it make sense because of the quality of iPad apps.
We will see. June, what is it? It's usually like the middle of June, roughly, is when WWDC is. So we don't have too long to wait.
Yep.
Too long to wait. Paul, you got anything else on this very warm and lovely Friday? Well, it's not crazy warm, but it is mid-50s.
Not so warm, but yeah. Just one quick thing. I'm gonna write this up. It's gonna be really short, but I just think this is kind of a cool idea. I get a lot of marketing emails from companies that are like, hey, we made this app, or we made this little product, or we did this thing, or whatever. Would you look at it? And I usually just look at it and go, yeah, not really. But I saw this one, and I actually think this is kind of cool. It's called like a phone. I guess it's a phone B, like BAE. Is that how you said it? Or a phone bay?
Bay.
Phone bay. I'm old. Phone charger, right? So you've seen these like kind of tubular charges, like this kind of thing, right? You know, it's like a little tube or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that this adds to that, it's just like typical $20 little part or whatever, is that little tray thing you see there. And what that does is it lets you put the phone in it, so you can like watch a movie while you're charging the phone. So if you kind of, I don't know if I can orient this correctly so you can see it, but it kind of sits in the, and it, you know, it just sits there. And I mean, it doesn't cost them anything to add this. Like every one of these should have this. Like it's such a neat little addition. So you can plug the thing in. You could be on a plane or whatever, watching a movie on your phone. You're not draining the battery because you're charging it. You know, so I have no way. I'm not going to really be able to test it as far as, you know, how well it charges, et cetera, et cetera. But in this particular version only came with a micro USB cable, like one of the short ones. But I keep a short version of each cable in my bag when I travel, so I can have Lightning or micro USB or USB-C anyway. So when I'm going to Boston next week, I will bring this and I will test it, but I'll just write up something short about it probably today or tomorrow. It's just a neat idea. It's just kind of I saw this, I'm like, yeah, okay, actually that one's kind of cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. No,
what about you, Brad?
That's interesting. That was actually the exact same experience with that Kit Sound Echo speaker thing that I had. I was like, eh.
Yeah, you're like, okay. Yeah, because usually it's like you just kind of dismiss these things. It's like, and it's like you're just about to hit delete, and you're like, actually,
yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, I write them back. It's like, I don't normally do this kind of thing, but okay, I'll look at it.
There you go. There you go. Well, folks, I think that wraps it up for today in the brand new refurbished studio, as I tried to get everything back aligned and back into semi-quasi whatever order. But as always, appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll have a replay up here in a little bit, and we'll catch you right back here next week on First Ring Daily.
Did they make the camera sound? Is that a ShamWow you're holding in your hand?
No, this is, if you go to...
Right. Is that a golf bag towel? Is that what that is?
Not a golf bag towel. This is just a... No. If you go to like an auto store, you can buy a pack of microfiber cloths. That, like, and this thing, it's what I just keep around to like
is one of the 50 that you spent $10 on?
Yeah, you can get a whole bunch of them, and they clean your stuff better than the stupid little ones that come with it, and I absolutely love it.
Nice. See, there's your own. You have your own little tip there. You should have used.
Yeah. Well, I got to go pick my car up here $800 later because of potholes. Potholes.
My wife had a Mazda 5, which is probably a perfectly acceptable vehicle to have in, I don't know, San Diego, but up in Boston where we had snow and potholes and everything, she 3 times drove into a pothole and bent the rim and had to replace it at a cost of $850 each time.
Oh.
Just hitting a pothole. It warped the rim such that the tire was not flat, but the tire didn't sit correctly on the warped rim, so it wouldn't keep air in each case. 3 times that happened. So there's your car recommendation of the week.
All right. I will. All right. Well, actually, we'll be talking again in 30 minutes.
I was going to say have a good weekend, but I'll talk to you in 30 minutes. Bye.
Bye.